Hey everybody, Stacy here.
And this is Jelani.
We are back with another episode of It Takes Work. Yes, we've caught up on all of our missed episodes and we are now back on our regular schedule to close out season 2 in December 2023. Tonight, we are back to talk about keeping it 100.
Mm,
Being honest, even when it's uncomfortable. So, Mr. Wilson. First of all, I do want to open up this episode thanking everybody for, supporting us. And I also want to make sure that at the end of this episode, I think I mentioned it in the last episode, but I mentioned it again. We are currently giving out proposals for our 2024 couples retreat to Aruba, okay, in July of 2024. So if you're interested, if you are a married couple, an engaged couple, a couple that has made a decision to be exclusive and you're just trying to figure things out and you figure maybe a vacation together will help you come to some decisions in your dynamic.
it's a nice place to make a decision. Right?
I'm telling you. So right now, if you book, you can send an email to me here at our It Takes Work account, or you can email the travel agency that's curating this for us, willtraveltrips@gmail.com, and we will get you the details, get you the pricing points, and understand that price is not guaranteed until it is booked. The good thing is booking is $265 a person. And, so you can get those details, but I'll give more information at the end of this episode. So when Jelani and I were putting together the episode guide for season 2, this was much way before our transition, way before the relocation and a whole lot of stuff happened in our lives, losing our dog and all of the things, the business ramping up and all of that different stuff. It was so we had all these ideas for topics, and then this particular topic sort of came. We were halfway through the season. Was like, we should probably do this topic right
And
here.
it's one of those well-known type of topics. If
Mm-hmm.
you're in a relationship,
Mm-hmm.
but it's also an important one to have a discussion about too.
And I'd like to, if I might, for those of you that are viewing on YouTube, please like, comment, and subscribe if you so feel led. We always appreciate support. If you're listening on the podcast platforms, please subscribe to our podcast channel, follow us, leave us a review. That helps us tremendously. But I want to shift my position in how I'm sitting here because I'd like for this to be a conversation between us, right? We know a lot of people throughout our 27 years of being together as a couple. We've met a lot of people. They've come in our lives. They've left out of our lives. We've seen a lot of experiences, and we've had a lot of experiences between us where it comes to honesty and things like that. Now, I'm gonna insert something in here in this conversation that I think is relevant. We received feedback from I don't know if they were a listener or maybe they were a troll that was listening to provide some erroneous feedback, but we received some feedback on one of our episodes that we did, one of our most vulnerable episodes, part of our story, our story, healed, but healed, our story, basically. I forgot the title of it. And this gentleman proceeded to write a dissertation, and of course, I was the bad guy. Okay, and Jelani made a very good assessment of that email. This gentleman was proceeding to say that once a cheater, always a cheater. I don't care how you framed it up. You did this, you did that, and blah blah blah. And you could have caused your spouse to commit suicide. All kinds of crazy stuff. And Jelani made a very good assessment of that email. He says it sounds like he has some unresolved issues with having either been cheated on or just having being cheated on multiple times or something like that. And I absolutely believed him, but I felt like this conversation left even more room to even talk about honesty from the perspective of even our situation. Yes, was I dishonest in the things that I did? Absolutely. And I took ownership for that. Like, wouldn't you agree that I took ownership for my dishonesty?
Yeah.
for the lack of integrity that I had during that time when I did the things that I did.
Yeah.
Right. And so this gentleman, I'm not even gonna tell y'all no lie. If you know me, you know that I wear my heart on my sleeve. So when things hit my heart where it's easy for other people to be like, oh, you tripping for nothing, don't worry about it. It really bothered me. It bothered me. And I have to remember that when you put yourself out there publicly, people are gonna speak on things and have an opinion about things. And it's just important for you to maintain, your position. And so it made me want to have a conversation with my husband and really make sure that he understood, the remorse that I had in my heart for what I did. Because even though you took responsibility for your part in it, I do want you to know that I really am remorseful. Like I wasn't trying to play in your face, so you understand that, right?
Didn't understand that.
Yeah, because
if I didn't understood that, I wouldn't be still married to you.
Yeah, and I think that's another thing too. It's not my responsibility to quote unquote, like Jelani can fight his own battles very well. I think for me, it bothers me sometimes that there's a misconception that because he is quiet, that he is some sort of passive, weak. His wife runs him. You know, it's not our responsibility to prove that to people. We just be, right? But I am, when I get the opportunity to say it, I am going to always stand up and say that I'm not married to no punk. Okay. That he far from it. He's very strong in his approach. The one thing I love about his quietness is he can hear things that somebody like me, who's always moving, always stimulated, always kind of going, can miss because I'm not quiet enough to be still, observe, and kind of catch the things that's happening around me, which is why I think we work so well because Jelani is he just, like, I remember when we were going to church in Seat Pleasant, New Life. Do you remember this lady? I can't remember who that woman was. I don't know if she was a visitor. I'm not sure who she was. We had only been at New Life a couple of years at that point. But she walked up to you and was like, "You're so observant." Like she was like, she was saying, talking to you, and she was like, "It's like a body of water." She was like, "You're strong." She was like, "Quiet,
Was this
still,
like in the
observant."
lobby or something?
Yeah, we was like
Okay.
either walking through, and I never forgot that. Like I was like, wow. And then as we grew and as we got older and as we started having these experiences and I'm paying attention to him, like I know he sometimes wishes to be more uh social and engaging, and he's expressed his challenges with being, having conversations and things like that. But I can appreciate the quietness because you can catch things, right?
Like God set me up.
Mm-hmm. Like me, um I used to like really not like how extroverted I was. I sometimes
You did?
I was very apologetic about being quote unquote extra. Because I didn't want to make people uncomfortable. But it's who I am. And, if I try to be anything but myself, you'll see it. You'll see it. When I'm not able to be myself, my exterior changes. I change. So that all of that, what does that have to do with this overall conversation about keeping it 100, being honest even when it's uncomfortable? Is this very conversation we're having? Being honest about things you've done, taking responsibility. And so I did not respond to that person that decided to share their whatever, to throw up whatever they're dealing with. I do hope whatever trauma they have going on, I really do. No lie, I'm not joking. I'm not being facetious when I say this. I hope that there is, something happens in their heart, that they are healed, that whatever trauma they suffered at the hands of infidelity, that they get whatever support they need to heal their heart, to heal their minds, and whatever. Because the amount of opinion that they had about my personal experience and the amount of attack that they had toward me, I didn't do nothing to them. And the person I did do something to, I resolved that with them. And not only did I resolve that with them, but God has dealt with that. And so to that individual who said that they would watch future episodes, this is directed towards you. I hope you get the healing you need. I hope you find the community that will help you and support you. I hope if you're able to get even the closure with the people that hurt you, that you get that, because you don't know me personally to make the assessment you made. But like anybody else, you have an opinion, you're entitled to it. And so I think it's just very important that we really learn, especially in this society where we're taught now, today especially, um, we are taught how to skirt around issues.
Because you don't want to hurt nobody's feelings.
And so honesty, especially in any type of relationship, friendships, it's I don't know why it is so hard sometimes to be honest, because I guess you're thinking about it like you don't want to hurt somebody's feelings.
Yeah, but
But
sometimes it's necessary,
mhm,
because if you're not 100% honest with somebody, then that person could do further damage to themselves than what could have happened if you just told them, "Hey, I really think you need to pay attention to this because you're really messing things up here," or "I don't like the way this situation is looking for you."
mhm, mhm. And even outside of being honest with another person, I think one of the most important things is being honest with yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I can think of instances, especially when it was for something that I really wanted, where I wasn't telling myself the truth about the reality of what was really happening. And you have to be honest with yourself about any situation you're in where it may be detrimental to you. So you know that saying they said where you put on rose colored glasses.
I was just thinking about that analogy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so keeping it, being honest and keeping it 100 with yourself about the reality of things that are happening in your life, I think will really help you to be honest in situations when the honest points have to, when they're hard, when it's hard to tell those truths.
Because you're being true to yourself at that point.
Mm-hmm.
And you're
Mm-hmm.
not going to really fake it just to make sure everybody's feelings are not hurt or nobody takes offense to it. Because we're in a society right now where everything offends everybody.
Everything. Everything. You know, your personal faith offends other people. Who you sleep with at night offends other people. What you eat offends other people. If you post a picture of you eating a steak and the right wrong, oh my God, you're a meat eating, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
How?
You either breathing oxygen offends people.
How you wear your hair offends other people. So we are in a very overly sensitive. It's so weird. Just this society that we're in. It's overly sensitive. It needs to constantly be stimulated. People don't know how to be still. If they're still, they're like it induces anxiety. Whereas stillness and quiet and just a peaceful existence is supposed to refresh and renew and restore and kind of create an opportunity for you to reflect and give you a fresh perspective. But now we can't be still long enough. I was just talking to a friend yesterday, and we were talking about how like when the Wi-Fi goes out. I know when the Wi-Fi goes out in my house, my kids are typically, I have two of our adult children are still home with us, and so they are in their own respective spaces. When the Wi-Fi goes down, one gonna come out of their room, the other one gonna come. Did the Wi-Fi go out? Because there is this need to be constantly entertained, constantly stimulated, and even me, it is something that I have to be more cognizant of. Like it's so interesting how we, the where we find the peace. It's not something we're seeking. We're seeking it in stimulation. But kind of circling back to that conversation about keeping it 100, um, what are some of the challenges you've had in your life, not necessarily as it relates to us, just in general, about being honest, even when it is uncomfortable? It's an uncomfortable conversation.
I could think probably, I want to say like 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Like when I was in my 30s, I was still in that stage of trying to like figure out who I was.
Mm-hmm.
So I was real anxious when it came to like real difficult conversations with people because I didn't want to like hurt their feelings
Yeah.
or offend them or make them feel some kind of way. I'm in my 40s right now. I mean, as long as I'm being respectful, I could care less now. So that's just me, but I'm still gonna be respectful. But at the same time, I don't have time to step on eggshells around folks just because they're like hyper emotional and stuff. I'm
Mm-hmm.
still gonna talk to you respectfully. I'm still gonna address you in a kind manner. But if something needs to be said to you, it's gonna get said.
Mm-hmm.
Period. Point blank.
Mm-hmm. And
And
that,
you just unpack that the way you unpack it. But it
and
needs to be done because we're in the times now where you ain't promised no days.
mm-hmm.
So live your best life. Be good to everybody you come in contact with, but be honest with them at the same time.
Yes, I absolutely agree with that because I feel like, and even when it comes to the uncomfortable part of being honest with people, um, just because it is an uncomfortable conversation doesn't mean you have to be rude. So to your point about being respectful, they say you deliver things in love, and sometimes depending on how the person is viewing the conversation, even if you are delivering it in love,
They
not
still might
necessarily
take it the wrong
sugarcoating
way.
it, but you're delivering it in love, like, look, I hate this, put it this way, but this is how it is. I love you, I'm here, I want to support you. If you can't do anything about how they receive what you're
Exactly.
saying, but you owe it to yourself and to those individuals to be honest, because like your grandma said, if you start lying, it's going to take more effort to keep up with the lie than it is to just
Tell the
tell the
truth.
truth and let the truth stand on its own. And so, for us, that is something we are always conscious of. When you agree, it's something we're always actively working on, being honest with each other, especially after everything we've come through, having those hard conversations. And I would say we've had a couple of those hard conversations since we transitioned. Wouldn't you agree?
Multiple
Yeah,
ones.
it's
Yeah.
been a few of them. But they didn't leave us at the end. It kind of left you a little bit relieved, whether it be for the person that's having the conversation or the person that's on the receiving end of what's being talked about. But it caused us to really, like, it teaches us how not to mask over things and hide things. One of the things I can say I witnessed as a child coming up in the short time that I was able to with my parents is how they would suppress things. They would suppress it. It would be like something they want to deal with, something they would need to deal with, but maybe because it was too uncomfortable to have the conversation, they didn't know how the other person was going to respond. They just didn't. And all of that suppression resulted in those individuals, having these issues. And so they're trying to deal with this unresolved stuff that they got going on that they need to talk about, but they just didn't. And so I knew, I didn't know coming out of the gate, but once Jelani and I started learning how to work through our stuff and talk about the hard stuff, I realized that's not a characteristic that I wanted to possess.
But you know what I learned though over the years having these hard conversations? If you have the hard conversation, and like I said, if you present it in love, it helps build your relationship and it helps make it better
Mm-hmm.
because there's nothing you can't talk about.
Mm-hmm.
And I would rather you tell me, if I'm dropping the ball on this or if I didn't see this correctly
Mm-hmm.
in that particular situation. I'd rather you tell me that than keep it all to yourself. Then it's going to build up in you, it's going to fester, and then it's going to come out in some other kind of negative way.
Mm-hmm.
Instead, you just put it out there and we just deal with it and move on.
Yeah. And so to make this conversation a little bit more relatable to you all, I'll give you an example. Of a hard conversation. If you're okay with me kind of being a little bit transparent on here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So As Jelani and I get older, as we, progress in our relationship, and we're at the stage now, we are parents of adults, right? So they are no longer our children to the degree where we have to steward over their every decision and do things for them. But we are parents of adults. And so now that we're parents of adults and they're doing their own thing, he and I are in a different space because we are not the young couple that got together at 21 and 23 before the kids. We are now the 47 and 45-year-old. Although we've been together through all of this together, we're two different people today. And so there's a lot that has conversations that have to happen at 47 and 45.
Basically, you're rediscovering who you are in
Right.
a relationship now.
And so one of the conversations that we had to have was around physical touch, sexual relationship, and intimacy, non-sexual and sexual intimacy. Okay. And those conversations were tough and hard to have because at the beginning there was some misunderstanding. And so as you unpeel it back and you have, like, for me as a woman, the hard conversation is my body is changing. I don't look the same. I don't feel the same way about myself, or I don't have the same desires physically that I used to have. And it's no reflection, like you're trying to explain this to your partner and let them know that it's not because I'm not attracted to you. It's just these things are happening in my body, and then there's all these things in the back of your mind, like you're fearful that they're just not going to understand it, and they're just going to take it and be like, "Well, you just don't love me, you just don't want me." But we're able to have those conversations, and you hear me, right?
Yeah.
And he is expressing his needs. I'm expressing mine. He's expressing where he is, and they get easier. They've gotten easier. And it helps us too to understand, oh, there's a different way that we have to meet each other in this way.
Mm-hmm.
There's different things we have to do. And so because of that, because we had those hard conversations, because we fought through the fear and the anxiousness of what might be said and how they might perceive it, now we can talk about that without any hesitation. Will you agree?
Yep. And we also build on top of that too. So
Mm-hmm.
now we're starting to make those new discoveries as far as who we are now, married with adult kids.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And for a lot of people, that transition is real tricky.
Yeah.
They don't know who they are. Once the kids are out the house, they're basically like, "Oh Lord, I'm living with a stranger
We've
here."
been parents our whole relationship.
So now you gotta basically relearn who this person is as an individual, not as wife and mom
Mm-hmm.
or husband, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and father. But now you gotta be looking at him as an individual again.
Mm-hmm. An individual who has matured.
Exactly.
It's not the.
Look, we pray that you're not the same person.
My God, let me
from
tell you
20
something.
years ago.
Let me tell you something. Let me say
If
something.
you are, that's a problem.
If you done got in your 40s, 45, 47, 43, 40, whatever, and you still got the same mindset, the same ideas, the same perspectives that you had when you first got together at 21, 22, 23. Let me explain. Something has happened. There is a deficiency.
Something didn't happen.
Because your kids are adults now, and you still out here 23, 25, 27 mentality. I'm scared for you. Because what? But yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. You're right. I think it's just, so you have this general conversation, right? Because keeping it 100 is a general conversation. It's something you have to constantly do across all facets of your relationships. Like, I'll even go as far as to say being honest in the workplace.
That's tricky.
That's tricky. Yeah. Because you have to be very careful about the things that you say, because those things in essence can be either used against you, misinterpreted, misconstrued. Mm-hmm. So it's important for you to always assert yourself in a particular way, but stay true to who you are by being honest. An example that I'll give for myself is some challenges that I've had at work recently, and being able to articulate to managers that I know are supportive, Because don't go to the manager that you know got it all for everybody and is only that only cares about themselves. Because guess what? They're not gonna care about nothing you going through. As a matter of fact, they may use it as a reason to pin something against you. And so I feel like that honesty conversation, it reaches beyond your intimate relationships. It reaches into how you interact with people externally. Because if you present the representative of something and it's not true to who you are, when it is time for you to be true to who you are, you're gonna catch people off guard because you'd have maintained a lie all this time. Um, but I think even just to frame up this conversation as we near like the closing of this episode, my main thing, because I do want to get your perspective on what your main thing is from this conversation, but my main thing is being honest with yourself. And the best example I can have for me about being honest with myself is when I was in past relationships. My very first relationship, I probably was like 16, 17 years old. How much can you know at that age? But I really, like nothing, right? But I really, I just wasn't honest with myself about what it was. I romanticized it, and I ended up getting really hurt by it. So I did not know what I know now. Of course, would have done a different thing. But now that I know better, my what is it? Well, not word of encouragement, but my advice is be honest with yourself. It might be hard as heck to look at your situation and say, "Dang, this just really is not what I thought it was gonna be." That's okay. You gotta swallow that thing and be like, well, let me operate now based on what it is, right? And I'm not saying you can't be hopeful that it'll be a different outcome, but you have got to walk out you got to be honest about what's in front of you right now. So yeah, before you could be honest with anybody else, you have got to be 100% straight up with yourself. Correct. And so, what's your takeaway from this? See, me, it was about that personal honesty. What is your takeaway?
I mean, I'm on the same lines as you, but from my perspective, and because I don't really interact as good as you do, mine was not only knowing myself, but being comfortable with being who I actually was. And that made it a little bit more easier for me to talk to people, to address people. And even when I was a manager in retail, I always wanted people to be honest. Well, I want my management to be honest with me when I wasn't doing something correct or I wasn't, really taking care of all of my core roles the way I was supposed to. So that's how I used to approach my management style. I can kiki with you and laugh with you, but anybody who's worked with me, they know that I've always treated them fairly. I always talk to them with respect. But if you was dropping the ball, I pull you to the side because I was never one of those managers who like to dress people down in front of an audience. That's just so.
Treated them like you wanted to be treated.
It's
managed
not,
them like
not
you.
necessary. So I pull them to the side or I pull them in my office like, hey, these is what I'm seeing that you're not doing, and I need you to step up here, and give examples of stuff. Because I always want somebody to do better. And you have to have those type of conversations, even though it's very uncomfortable at times. But you have to tell these people because a lot of times people don't realize that they do things unless somebody is being honest with them. You're not gonna know unless somebody tells you.
Yeah.
If everybody's zipping their lips and just looking at them look at him screwing that up. Guess what? A lot of everybody gonna be dropping the ball on everything.
That's true. That's true.
So be honest with yourself. Be honest with everybody else. And like I said, as long as you do it in love and respect and everything, you did your part. You can't help how people are going to take it or how they're going to process it.
That's it.
Some people are going to take it as good constructive criticism. Some people are going to get offended anyway. How dare you?
And
What can you do with that?
you're gonna have to leave it where it is.
Yeah, I'm sorry you feel that way.
What can you do to fix it?
This is what it is, though.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we hope that this little tidbit of information we decided to share with you before we ended the month of October was helpful. We'll be back again in November. And then after that, we are closing out December. Now, we are finishing our collaboration series because y'all remember we told y'all earlier in this year before things kind of shifted for us that we're going to have some friends join us. And so, our finale, we are going to do that Friendship Foundation Part 2 that we promised you all. So stick around. As promised, information about the It Takes Work Couples Retreat 2024, all inclusive resort in Aruba, July 25th through July 30th. If you get a proposal from Will Travel Trips and you lock in your booking, $265 per person.
You would not guarantee. You would not be disappointed.
Will not. And you also will lock in your rate at the quoted rate that you receive if you book it. If if you get the quote and then you decide to book 60, 90 days later, understand the pricing point will be different. And you'll also have a shorter time to pay down your trip. This trip does include round trip airfare, round trip airport transfer, all inclusive amenities, lodging, and pre departure travel insurance. If you decide you do not want pre departure travel insurance, then you are risking, if you need to make any changes to your booked reservation, incurring change fees. Pre departure travel insurance for this particular supplier is very helpful because you can make as many changes as you need to as close to your departure date as possible and still not incur change fees. Then also this package offers you the opportunity to pay on your trip, and you just have to pay that final balance, I believe, by June 10th of 2024, 45 days before the departure date. So the trip is July 25th through the 30th. I believe we set it up for 6 days, 5 nights. Um, it's a couples retreat. We will not be doing a whole bunch of activities. It is the purpose of it is for you to vacation. At a minimum, we'll have like a check-in where you guys can get your swag bags, and if you want to get together and make some group things happen, we can do that. But we want you to vacation. We don't want you to feel like you're on a group therapy trip. It's not what this is.
Up in your faces.
We will not.
Because we're doing nothing.
We will because we ain't never been to Aruba. So if you're interested, check out our website. Now, the page to our website is linked on the My Sister Soul Productions.com page. So you go to My Sister's Soul Productions.com and then you look for the It Takes Work page. And from there, you can get some information on the trip and you can fill out a form and we can get you a quote and do all of the things. So, married, not married, in a situation, but you're not toxic because we don't want no toxic. Listen, don't bring your situationship on this trip.
We don't need Stella trying to get her groove back.
I mean, well, no, she can. Well, I mean, Stella can come. Stella gonna feel like
a third wheel.
Listen, it's for people that are trying to do something. Like, even if you got divorced and you like, we want to see if it's a spark left. You can come on the trip, But yeah, so. We'll see y'all next month. Thank you so much for tuning in. Y'all take care. Have a good evening, everybody. Bye-bye.